It started with a single tear rolling down her cheek in the dim glow of that sterile sunroom. A silent confession that cracked open the facade of our so-called perfect family. I remember freezing there, my hand hovering over the blanket I'd just tucked around her small frame, the air thick with unspoken horrors. That was the moment I knew deep in my bones that little Emily wasn't the broken doll they'd painted her to be. For 5 long years, they'd whispered about her condition, the tragic accident that left her mute, paralyzed, a living ghost in their sprawling Atlanta mansion. But that tear? It wasn't from pain or reflex. It was from fear. From holding in a storm no child should carry. And as I wiped it away gently, whispering, "I see you, kiddo," something inside me shifted. The quiet helper. The overlooked aunt, they'd counted on my silence. But silence has a way of turning into thunder when betrayal cuts too deep. My name's Laura Hayes. And up until that phone call, I was just scraping by in my cramped Savannah apartment, nursing the sting of a layoff from the public library where I'd spent years curating stories for kids who needed escapes. Budget cuts, they said, like it was nothing personal. The mornings blurred into one another, weak coffee cooling on the counter, job listings scrolling endlessly on my laptop, the hum of the fridge mocking my empty schedule. Then the phone rang, jolting me like a bad omen. It was my sister, Rebecca, always Rebecca, with her voice like polished glass, sharp edges hidden under charm. "Laura, honey, we need a favor." Not really a favor, more like family duty. She didn't wait for me to respond. "Dad, Mom, my brother Mark, and she were jetting off to Hawaii for some much-needed recharge mixed with Dad's real estate networking. And Emily, their 8-year-old daughter, the one they'd all tiptoed around since the incident, her live-in nurse had bailed unexpectedly. You're between jobs, right? Perfect timing. Just a week or so. Keep her comfy. Follow the routine. We trust you, no one else gets her like you do. I could have said no. Should've. But old habits die hard in families like ours, where yes keeps the peace and no invites exile. Rebecca emailed the flight confirmations later that day, 4 tickets. Not 5. No mention of me in the family chat. Just excited emojis about my ties and beaches. It stung. Like always. I'd been the one baking pies for holidays while they took the credit. The one sending birthday cards that went unanswered. The one fading into the background at reunions. Silence was my armor. Or so I thought. The next morning, a sleek town car pulled up. No fanfare. I lugged my duffel in, and we drove the 2 hours to their Buckhead estate, a cold, echoing beast of a house with marble floors that chilled your feet and walls lined with abstract art that screamed money over warmth. The housekeeper, Mrs. Ellis, handed me a binder thick as a novel, schedules, meds, emergency protocols. "Miss Rebecca says stick to it religiously," she muttered before vanishing. Emily was in the sunroom, wheeled to face the garden. Her blonde curls limp, hands folded lifelessly in her lap, eyes staring blankly at the manicured hedges. "Hey, sweetie," I said softly, kneeling. "Aunt Laura's here." Nothing. Not a flicker. Just the slow rise and fall of her chest. Mechanical. Detached. That first night, I unpacked in the guest suite. The bed too plush. The silence too absolute. Jet lag from my own exhaustion hit hard. But around midnight, a creak pulled me awake, footsteps. Faint but deliberate. Padding down the hall. Heart hammering. I slipped out. Tiptoed to Emily's room. She was there. Unchanged. Eyes open but vacant. The door, I'd shut it tight, was ajar. I chalked it up to the house settling. Old bones groaning in the Georgia humidity. But doubt lingered. A whisper in my gut. Morning brought more unease. I brewed coffee, black and bitter, and watched Emily while feeding her the prescribed puree. She swallowed on autopilot. No resistance. No spark. Rebecca's words echoed. She's fragile. Laura. Don't push her, it only makes things worse. But as I dabbed her chin, a fork slipped from the counter, clattering sharp on the tile. Her eyelid twitched. Subtle, but real. Not a reflex. Awareness. I froze. Breath caught. Then jotted it in a notebook I'd grabbed from my bag. Eyelid response to noise. 8:47 a.m. Paranoia? Maybe. But families like mine thrived on secrets. And I'd learned to trust the cracks. The house felt like a museum of polished lies, spotless counters. Bookshelves arranged by spine color. Not a toy out of place. No family photos except staged ones in silver frames. Rebecca beaming at charity galas. Dad shaking hands with investors. Mom, Eleanor, sipping wine at garden parties. Mark looking smug in his tech startup suit. And Emily? Always in the background. A prop for sympathy. I wandered the halls, spotting discreet cameras blinking red in corners, downstairs den, upstairs landing, even above Emily's bed. For safety, Rebecca had once said. But safety from what? A girl who couldn't move? In her room. I found a sketch pad tucked under picture books. Pages filled with careful doodles, flowers shaded with precision. A bird mid-flight. Too skilled for someone non-responsive. I snapped photos. Added to my notes. Artistic ability evident. Contradicts reports. Trauma doesn't erase talent. It buries it. That afternoon, during her scheduled rest, I tested it, dropped a pen deliberately. Her shoulder jerked faintly. I see that, I murmured. No response. But the air hummed with tension. Like she was holding her breath, waiting for me to look away. By evening, the weight pressed harder. I sat by her bed, the nightlight casting eerie shadows. Emily, if you can hear me, blink once. Nothing. But then, a tear escaped, tracing her pale cheek. My chest tightened, betrayal's blade twisting. This wasn't illness, it was imprisonment. I wiped it gently. You're not alone anymore. Sleep evaded me. My mind replaying family dinners where I'd bitten my tongue, Mom crediting Rebecca for fundraisers I'd organized, Dad praising Mark's innovations while ignoring my library work, Rebecca's subtle digs about my simple life. Silence had been my cage too. Now, it was cracking. Dawn broke heavy. The mansion's quiet a suffocating blanket. I rifled through a linen closet, shoving aside towels to uncover a unmarked folder, medical invoices. Stacks of them. Wheelchairs. Monitors. Sedatives billed to a PO. Box. Not the house. Items delivered, but nowhere in sight. Then, buried deeper. 2 reports, one framed on the wall, declaring Emily's irreversible paralysis from the car crash. The other? No neurological deficits. Full mobility expected. Identical dates. Same doctor. Forged. My hands shook as I photographed them. The medlog? Entries for days the nurse was absent. Lies layered on lies. Rebecca's notes. Ignore twitches, they're manipulative. Keep her compliant. Compliant. The word burned. In Dad's, Richard's study, I jimmied the locked drawer with a hairpin, finding drafts of the fake report. Writing to notes, ramp up dosage Q3. No new evals, risk exposure. My stomach roiled. This wasn't care, it was control. Fraud wrapped in family bonds. Lunch that day. I watched Emily's hand shift under her blanket, deliberate. Testing. I set a crayon nearby. Whispered. It's okay. That night, as I tucked her in, Her lips parted. They'll hurt you too. If I talk. 7 words. Raspy. Terrified. I gripped her hand. Not on my watch. Fury ignited. Slow burning. Replacing fear. She'd been silencing herself to survive. I flushed her meds down the sink the next morning. Logged them as given. Emily's eyes sharpened by noon. Her whispers clearer, not sleepy anymore. I searched online, hopeforemily.com, Rebecca's charity site. Glossy photos of her at events. Donation tally at $92,000. Not a dime for real care. Screenshots. Backups, my arsenal building. Under a loose floorboard in her room. A hidden journal. Mom pinched me when I tried to stand. Said I'd ruin everything. Made me drink the sleepy stuff. Pages of a child's agony. Copied. Hidden in my car. The gate chimed at 3 a.m. Headlights piercing the dark. Rebecca. Unannounced. Suitcase in tow. Surprise check-in, she smiled. Eyes scanning like a hawk. Keeping her quiet? The words slithered. I nodded. But inside, resolve hardened. By morning, Emily straightened subtly, but froze rigid when Rebecca entered, reverting to the puppet. That night, muffled sobs from her room shattered me. I duplicated evidence. Hid drives in bookshelves. Hollowed shampoo bottles. Breakfast, Rebecca's veiled threat. Loyalty's your strength. Laura, even if it blinds you. Then the bomb. The family's flying in tonight. To celebrate your diligence. Panic surged. But so did purpose. They were coming, the architects of this nightmare. I wouldn't be the silent witness anymore. They arrived at dusk. Richard's SUV crunching gravel like judgment. Hugs exchanged in the foyer. Perfume cloying. Voices too bright. Dinner in the formal room. Turkey carved precisely. Wine poured generously. Emily at the head. Propped like a trophy. She looks so peaceful, Mom cooed. Avoiding her gaze. Thanks to Laura's routine, Rebecca added. Sliding a folder to Richard, legal papers for permanent oversight. My cue. I brushed Emily's hand twice. She blinked. Then stood wobbly. Defiant. The room iced over. Grandma. You locked me in the dark, she said. Voice steadying. All of you did. Glasses froze midair. What is this? Richard barked. Rebecca's eyes bored into me. What have you done? I laid out the notebook. Prints. Journal. You drugged her. Faked it all for the money. The image. My lawyer. Sarah, contacted days prior, stepped in. Custody review initiated. Silence exploded into chaos. Rebecca fled sobbing. Mom dabbed her eyes blankly. Mark bolted wordless. Richard glared. Calculating. I led Emily upstairs. Her small hand in mine. You were brave. She nodded. Exhaustion and relief mingling. Morning brought fragility. No one at breakfast but Mom. Stirring tea endlessly. Sarah called. Petition filed. Evaluation imminent. Richard cornered me. This stunt? You'll regret it. Lose everything. I met his eyes. You already lost her. Evening. Sarah arrived with footage, auto-uploaded security clip. Emily trying to stand. Rebecca slapping her down. This seals it. The site went dark. Donors fled. Mark's voicemail. I didn't know. I'm out. Hired my own counsel. Court was a cold arena. But truth cut sharper. Judge granted temporary custody to me. Outside. Leaks hit. Footage viral. Headline screaming, Charity Queen slaps paralyzed daughter. Richard ambushed me. Law won't save you. I whispered. Neither will your lies. Mark testified. Emails exposing the web. The doctor flipped. Investigation widened. We sued for fraud. Abuse. Emily bloomed in therapy, her voice strengthening. A month later, permanent guardianship awarded, no contest. The cottage we rented felt like breath after drowning, herbs in the garden, her laughter echoing. But revenge exacts its toll. Testifying. I laid bare the rot, endangerment, fraud, exploitation. Guilty verdicts. Richard stone-faced. Rebecca crumbling. I handed him Mark's statement. His empire's final nail. You thrived on fear. I ended it with truth. Headlines spread. Invitations to speak followed. Yet scars lingered, nights I woke sweating. Emily's occasional silence as a reminder. At the beach, waves erasing our names in sand. She turned. You saved me. I knelt. You saved yourself. I just listened. Freedom's price? High. But worth every shattered illusion.